Dear students, welcome to the next session on leadership. And today's session, we are going to speak on the theories of leadership. Now, there are a lot of theories which have come up on leadership, and there are many which we are going to focus. And we are going to have two parts or three parts of the videos and to go through the theories of leadership. The overview of the theories, these theories which we are going to go through are the great man theory, the trait theory, the behavioral theory, Ohio State's studies and Michigan studies, and the managerial grid. We are going to see it in the today's video, and in the next session, which after this, which we are going to focus on the rest of the theories, that is contingency theory, the situational theory, and the transformational theory. Let us look into what is the great man theory talks about. Before that, I asked you a very simple question through our assessment. I asked you at whether the leaders are born or leaders are made. And many of you had a different opinion about it. I wish I would have conducted this class in a classroom so that I would have had a lot of discussions and debates, because all of you know that leaders are born, but over a period of time, from the theoretical perspective, leaders were made. That is what the theory speaks of. Of the first one, the great man theory. The great man theory assumes that the leaders are born and they are not made. What do I mean by this? The earlier part, when we were not gone to much of research, and there was absolutely no literature which was available to say that the leaders were made. So whatever context in which the theory is studied, it said that the leaders were born, and it studied already those who were there as a leader. This approach emphasized that a person is born with or without the necessary traits of the leadership. So it did not mention anywhere the traits of a leader, but what it says is a leader is born by his characteristics. Generally, he doesn't have or he has some traits of leadership. What it explains in the great man theory is early explanations of leadership studied the traits of the great leader. So already those who were leaders, it studied them, and the great man theory studied people like Gandhi, Lincoln, Napoleon, and they studied the various characteristics of these people or these traits of what people had as a leader. The belief that this theory was the belief of this theory was that people were born with these traits and only the great people possessed them, and not all individuals had leadership traits. Further, the great man theory said that the great man approach actually emphasized on the charismatic leadership, and what charisma means is the word gift. Now, what it mentions here is the people who are the leaders, they are already been gifted by a particular trait, that is their leadership traits. It did not speak which, what trait and all, but it only spoke of they are gifted with leadership trait. Further, no matter what group such a natural leader finds himself in, he will always be recognized for what he is. So, what this further says is no matter wherever he is, he will definitely find his way to come up, and he would be recognized by many of his followers. According to the great man theory of leadership, leadership calls for certain qualities like commanding personality, charm, courage, intelligence, persuasive, and aggressiveness. Now, this is based on what they had studied, and they studied only the leaders who were already who were ruling, and they were the great leaders of their era. It has its own limitation, so that is where the trait theory come into picture. Now, the trait theory supersedes the earlier theory, which talks about you need to have traits And to do well without these traits, you cannot really do well as a leader. The first thing which this theory did is what characteristics or traits make a person a leader is something which they studied. The great man theory, uh, individuals, it said that the individuals are born either with or without the necessary traits of leadership. That is what we happen to see in this previous theory. The great man theory said that people are born with or without the traits of the leadership. But what this theory talks about, you need to have the traits. And the trait theories of leadership sort some of the traits like personality, social, physical, and intellectual traits that differentiate leaders from non-leaders. So what this theory talks about is, though it is of, though nowhere it is making a mention of whether the leader is born or made, it says that the leaders who are there need to have some traits, and these traits are in the form of personality, social, physical, and intellectual traits. And this would differentiate from a leader and a non-leader. Trait view has little analytical or predictive value, so it cannot predict, it cannot measure. And it also spoke about, which we have spoken in the previous session, that is the technical, conceptual, and the human skills, the trait theory. Now, trait theory predicted based on the personality, social, physical, or intellectual traits. Uh, it predicted few of the traits. Now, what is it? The traits which it predicts is, there are many, but I've picked up few. First one it speaks of is ambition and energy. Someone who is a leader will have a trait of a envision. He would have his vision, and he would have a lot of energy and enthusiasm to lead from the front. We would have seen them during our school days, and we would have seen them during our college days, that some people have ambition to be a leader, and they work towards it, and they have a lot of energy, and when they are working and when they are, people would easily follow them. The second trait which the theory talks about is the desire to lead. There are many times when we were into our school days, we have seen that the leader would come up on his own and he would show his intentions to be a leader. And what this means is, there is some urge in the person who is a leader. He would come forward and he would lead. He would show a lot of desire to be there as a leader. The next one is, the person who is a leader is would have a lot of honesty and integrity. Now, obviously, those who would lead us need to have a lot of integration, as well as they need to have honesty. And the next thing is the self confidence. Obviously, a leader has to have a lot of confidence in him, so that it makes him to lead from the front. And obviously, the followers would follow him only when he shows a lot of confidence. And this confidence should be there with any of the leaders who would lead us from the front. The next thing which the trait theory speaks of is the intelligence. Now, what does it? What do you mean by this word intelligence? Is a person who is only intelligent would be a person who would lead us, and not everyone who is average or below average in terms of our IQ would lead us. That is what it talks about. Further, the trait theory speaks is someone who has ample knowledge of job related information and knowledge. Only that person would come up and be a leader. And these are about 5 6 which the trait theory speaks of. And some other which the trait leadership speaks of is intelligence, physical features, inner motivation, maturity, vision, foresight, acceptance of responsibility, open-minded and adaptability, self-confidence, human relations, attitude, and fairness and objectivity. These are few, but the ones which I spoke here in this part is are the ones which are major ones, and this is where they concluded their theory. Now, the first theory, that is the great man theory, and the second theory, the trait theory, had a assumption that leaders were born, and nowhere they made a mention that the leaders can be made. This led to something more innovative, and a lot of research was conducted based on whether a leader is born or made, and a lot of argument was done on this front. Let's look at some of the limitations why trait theory was not successful or why it is not known. No universal traits that predicts leadership in all. So someone who is a non-leader doesn't talk about it why a trait is not predicting it at all. So as we said some time back, it doesn't predict. Further, it says that trait predicts behavior better in weak than a strong situation. So when a situation demands and a strong situation comes into picture, the leadership trait theory doesn't predict, and it predicts only when there is a weak situation, and it does well there. The third limitation is the unclear evidence of the cause and effect of relationship of leadership and trade. Now, what it says is, if I have a good relationship of as a leader, I would show these traits is nothing being proven there. So there is no conclusive evidence which speaks of the cause and effect of relationship of leadership and trait. As I said some time back, the great man theory as well as the trait theory spoke on the aspect of leaders were born. The next theory speaks of the leaders can be made, and this theory is called as the behavioral theory. Now, what does behavioral theory speak? In contrast with the trait theory, behavioral theory attempts to describe leadership in terms of what leaders do, while trait theory seeks to explain leadership on the basis of what leaders are. Leadership, according to this approach, is the result of effective role behavior. So, what it is trying to say is the leadership can be a resultant of a role behavior or a effective behavior. Further, it says that leadership is shown by person's acts more than by his traits. So the traits doesn't matter. He says the actions is what matters. This is an appropriate new research strategy adopted by Michigan researchers in the sense that the emphasis on the traits is replaced by the emphasis on the leader behavior. So what he says is something which can be measured is your behavior, and your trait cannot be measured. The trait is inbuilt, and your behavior can be measured. So the researchers in Michigan came up with a nice and nice research which spoke about the behavioral aspect of the leadership. Moving on, the behavioral theory is proposing that specific behavior differentiate leaders from the non-leaders. This also speaks that some behaviors do have as a leaders and some behaviors are not of that of a non-leader. Pattern of actions used by different individuals determines leadership potential. So what patterns it talks about is someone who is autocratic, democratic, or a laissez-faire. Whereas the Michigan studies came up with something called as employee-centered versus a task-centered. Anyways, the Michigan studies is something which we are going to go through it in today's session. The behavioral theory further says the theories that attempt to isolate behaviors that differentiate effective leaders from ineffective leaders. Behavioral studies focus on identifying critical behavioral determinants of leadership that in turn could be used to train people to become leaders. Now, what does this speak here is from the available leaders, they would identify some of the critical behaviorals which becomes as the determinants of the leadership, which could be used in the organizations to train people who could become the leaders of the futures. So they identify some of the critical behaviors and they train people on those particular behaviors. The behavioral leadership theory came from two perspectives. The Ohio State studies sought to identify independent dimensions of leader behavior, that is initiating, structure, and consideration. And the University of Michigan studies sought to identify the behavioral characteristics of leaders related to performance effectiveness. And here it spoke about employee oriented and production oriented. Let's look into what is this theory speak of. OEO state studies, which is part of the behavioral aspects. Now, OEO is a university where the researchers came together and they predicted something, and they studied close to 1,000 dimensions of leadership, and they put it across into two dimensions. The 1,000 dimensions were converted into two dimensions. Now, what are these two dimensions? First one is initiating structure, and second one is consideration. Let's look into the first one, that is initiating structure. What it says is the extent to which a leader is likely to define and structure his or her behavior, his or her role, and those of subordinate in the search of goal attainment. Now, it seems very technical. It seems very technical when we speak of. Let us look into this definition once again. The extent to which a leader is likely to define and structure his or her role and those of subordinates in the search of goal attainment. Now, what does this theory speak is? The theory speaks that I would, as a leader, like to attain the goal which has been set by the organization, which has been set by the company, which has been set by my leader or my boss. And to achieve this goal attainment, I would define and structure my role as a leader and those who are my subordinates or my followers. So it says, I as a person, as an individual, would want to define and structure my role. Simultaneously, those who are following me or those who are my subordinates, I would also define their role. Okay. And to make sure that I attend the goal which has been set by my organization. So that is what initiating structure speaks of. Whereas the consideration speaks, let us define it, what it says, the extent to which a leader is likely to have job relationship characteristics, my mutual trust, respect for subordinate ideas, and regards for their feelings. Now, what the first one spoke is the extent to which the leader is likely to define his and his role as well as his subordinate roles to define the goal attainment. Now, for the first initiating structure, the importance here is I as an organization or I as a leader of the organization would want to make sure that the goal is attended. The goal which has been set by the organization is attended by me, and I make sure that my subordinates and me will define and structure a role. But whereas in terms of consideration, what is important for a person here is a mutual trust, respect for subordinates' ideas, and regards for their feelings. Now, try to look into these three words: the trust, respect, and feeling. So what this theory speaks here in the consideration is the person is more towards an employee, and he would understand his subordinate's problem. He would understand the situation in which the subordinate is going through, and he would trust him more than anybody else. And he respects, if there are if a subordinate comes up with a nice idea, he would respect that, and he gives high regards for the feelings of the subordinate. Now, the initiating structure and consideration here is a person is more towards the first one is more towards attaining the goal, and consideration is more towards an employee. So what we look into is here the boss, the initiating structure is the boss is very strict, and the consideration is the boss is very friendly in nature. We move on to the next thing is the study which has been conducted by University of Michigan studies. Now, this is something similar to what we studied in the previous theory, and which speaks that the person is either initiating structure or is following a consideration. Something similarly, University of Michigan also comes up, and they say that the person, the leader here is employee oriented, or he is a production oriented leader. Now, what is an employee oriented leader is, he emphasizes interpersonal relationship, taking a personal interest in the needs of the employees, and accepting individual differences among the members. So again, something similarly what we studied, the trust, the respect, and the feeling for the employee or the subordinate, and making sure that there are no differences among the members of the organization. That is, if I have 10 people working in my team, I make sure that all the 10 people have no individual differences when they are working. Second, what it speaks is the second one, production oriented leader, one who emphasizes technical or task aspects of the job only. So he says someone, what we studied in the previous initiating structure is something similar here. The production oriented leader would emphasize more on the job to be completed and the goal to be achieved. What is the difference in that case between the Ohio studies and the University of Michigan studies? The conclusion. The conclusion varies in both. There, in the Ohio studies, the initiating structure and consideration is considered to be the same. Whereas in University of Michigan studies, they concluded that employee-centric leadership is better than the production-centric leadership. So we move on to the next style of leadership, that is the managerial grade. Now, this is also part of the behavioral study, and here we are going to go through what is it. The managerial grade study is developed by Blake and Mountain. Now, it is based on the two dimensions. Again, something which we happen to see in the previous slide. Something with respect to employee centric and something with respect to production centric. So here the two dimensions is concern for people and concern for production. Now let's look into what is this. It is, what they have done here is they have plotted this on a X and Y axis. The concern for people is been put on one axis and concern for production is been put on the other axis. Let's look how does it look. Now it looks like this. What you see here is they have a 9 scale on each side, 1 to 9 scale. So concern for production is been taken on scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 9, and concern for people is been simultaneously taken on the other scale, that is 1, 2, 3, 4 till 9, and it has been segregated as high and low, and the concern for production is also been segregated as high and low. Now what you see here is a 9 by 9 matrix outlines about 81 different leadership styles. Now, oh my god, 81 different leadership style is great, but we have highlighted 5 leadership styles here, and they are 1-on-1, 9-on-1, 5-on-5, 1-on-9, and 9-on-9. Let's look into each of them and what are they been named as. The first one, 1-on-1, is been named as improvised leader. Now what does it do? The theory speaks that they are indifferent leader and they are mostly ineffective. The one which I'm talking about here is coordinate 1-on-1. They show little interest in satisfying or motivating people. So they are concerned about themselves and they are not concerned either about the people whom they are associated with, neither they are concerned about the production of the organization. So they are only concerned about themselves. This kind of leadership results are disorganization, dissatisfaction, and disharmony. So this kind of a leader is something which is not at all accepted in any of the industries, and if you tend to work with these people, you would not move even an inch in your life. So this one-on-one coordinate is who is less on who is low on concern for people and who is low on production is not the leadership which we should cherish about. The second one, which we would look at, is the coordinate 9-1. Now, this is being named as produce or perish, or he's been called as a task oriented leader. Now, what is this manager or a leader is? The leader is very strict. He's very particular about the rules. He's very particular about the policies. He's very intent to have procedures within the organization. He's the one who is a leader who is with autocratic leadership style. He views punishment as an effective way of motivating team members. So he would want to always create a fear among all the employees, and he would want to make sure that only if a person would want to do well is give him punishments, and he would do well for you. Further, this leader will struggle to retain high performance. So someone who is exceptionally good, someone who is highly talented employee, he would not stick on with this kind of a leader for a longer period because he is very strict. Isn't it? We move on to the next coordinate, that is 5 on 5. And this is being named as middle of the road. Now, when you look at this kind of leadership style, and who is right between here, concern for the people, and he is right between here too, that is concern for production. So 5 and 5 is when you look at his style of leadership, you feel so that he is going to be the best. But unfortunately, the manager tries to balance between the results and the people, and this strategy is not an effective strategy for a long term. And this leadership style will give you highly diplomatic results. Now, what am I trying to say here? He will say yes with his all the people whomsoever he's interacting with. He would be diplomatic in nature, and because he is highly diplomatic in nature, he would go by whomsoever comes and says yes to him. Someone who comes to him and suggest him something, he would definitely say yes to it, and he would give ears to everyone. Neither he would come up with his own decisions. So this kind of a leadership is a very dangerous leadership, though it comes right between, but it is not good to have this kind of a leader. The next one is a coordinate 1 on 9. 1, concern for people, and 9 in terms of concern for, sorry, I mentioned it otherwise. It is 1 on 9. 1 is concern for production, and 9 is concern for people. Now, this has been named as country club. Here, the leader is too friendly and highly concerned to people. And because he's too very friendly, it becomes very difficult to get the productivity. The productivity suffers. Now, if the leader who is in this 1 on 9, that is this person, he would be ineffective again, and he would lack direction and control, because people he's very friendly with the people, he's very friendly with the employees would not listen to him. He would not be able to get the work done from his employees, his subordinates, and this kind of a leadership is not good again. The next coordinate is 9 on 1. 9 and 9 is what you see is the best, and this leadership is been named as team management. Now he is high on concern for production, and is also high on concern for people. And when you look at this kind of a leadership, that is 9 on 9, you always say that the best and the most effective leadership style is 9 on 9. But unfortunately, what you see here in this kind of a leadership style is this is one of the rarest species. I'll repeat it. This is one of the rarest species of leadership where you have high concern for production and high concern for people. But let me tell you, they are passionate about their work, and they are also passionate about who works with them, and they are the best in the time. And you find very rare, as I mentioned some time back, these kind of leadership styles do exist, but there are very few people who are in this category. So with this, I would end today's session on leadership theory. So today what we have done is we have gone through different leadership styles. The first one, leadership theory, is great man theory. The second one is street theory. The third one is we happen to see behavioral. In the behavioral, we happen to see the two studies, that is the Ohio studies and the studies of Michigan. And then we happen to see the managerial grade. So with this, I would end my today's session. And if you have any questions, please do talk to me, call me, or message me so that I would clarify your doubts. Thank you very much.